What's up? It's Marco, Sage of Soccer, and today, instead of talking about the international break that's about to come up, I think we should talk a little bit about the club careers of some of our national team players. Four of them, in fact, who are in the Premier League and who are in the midst of a relegation battle. Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, and Brenden Aaronson at Leeds, and Chris Richards at my Crystal Palace. The relegation race is very tight this year. There are 9 teams that could realistically go down, and I think all of them could possibly stay up. It'll be tough for some of them towards the bottom, a bit easier for the teams towards the top, but I think they all have a chance. And with Leeds and Crystal Palace, both of them are currently out of the relegation zone, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be staying out of it. Starting off, we have Leeds, and Leeds has been a very good place for Americans this year. Brenden Aaronson, Tyler Adams, and Weston McKennie have all been starters when they're healthy, and Leeds themselves have been in relatively good form for a relegation team. They just had to draw and are coming off a huge win against Wolves. And in that game, they had a good amount of luck go their way. They made their set pieces count and got a pretty scrappy goal through a Christensen. But I think that they're still in not great shape, especially defensively. Javi Garcia coming in still hasn't fixed that defense that conceded 2 goals to Wolves, and they honestly had a pretty good chance of losing a game where they were up 3-0. And Leeds, when you look at them, their main issue is striker is still not a great option for them. Bamford seems to have been a one-season wonder, and Rodrigo he can score, but he's not the real great option that you want to have up top. Thankfully for them, Ganato has proven to be an amazing signing, and Jack Harrison has hit form at the right time. If Tyler Adams gets back to health and their defense can put anything together, maybe the international break will help them get organized. I think they'll be in good shape to stay up, and no matter what, right now, I think they have a pretty good chance because I look at some of the teams towards the bottom, and I think they're in a better position than them, but it's going to be a very tough road for Leeds. But I think they should be able to stay up right now. Then we have my Crystal Palace, who recently fired Patrick Vieira. And I understand the decision as Crystal Palace haven't won a game since the new year. To be fair, they won on the 31st of December, but that's still a very terrible run. Only one win since the World Cup ended, and the goals just don't look like they're coming. I understand why Vieira was fired, but that being said, if there was one French Arsenal legend that I want the US to hire as their manager, well, it'd be Arsene Wenger, but Vieira is still ahead of Thierry Henry. The main problem for Crystal Palace, similar to Leeds, is that they just don't have a good striker, despite all the times we tried to find somebody. Edouard, Mateta, anybody, it really hasn't worked out. And in addition, Zaha getting injured really hasn't helped. I will say my one big criticism of Vieira is dropping Eze. I don't understand that decision. He was one of our main goal threats and one of the most creative players in the Premier League. I don't understand why he was dropped at all, especially when the defense hasn't looked much better with him out. I like Schlupp's been playing pretty well, and I'd like to keep him on the field, but if we're playing a 4-2-3-1, I'd rather have Eze as the 10 than Jeffrey Schlupp. So that's one criticism I do have of him, but I'm not too sure about the decision to fire him. I think that the team's issues won't be solved. That being said, the new manager bounce is a thing, and with Palace in a position where they probably only need 2 wins to stay up and having a really easy run of games that coming up, I understand wanting to have that new manager come in. I'm not sure who it will be. I'm holding out hope for Will still, but I think that's a pipe dream. Roy Hodgson's been floated out there. I could even see Jesse Marsch getting this job, but we'll have to see who's going to take it. I'm not too sure about any of them. But I think that with the new manager bounce, things will look pretty decent for us. On the Chris Richards front, he really hasn't played much this year. I I'm glad as a Crystal Palace fan he's there because he's very good center back depth. And with Joaquin Anderson potentially injured, I'd like him to start over James Tompkins, who really didn't play that well. Granted, it was against Arsenal, but just he was going to be the backup. He is the backup. I don't see what he was really expecting with that signing for Crystal Palace. But that being said, I think that Crystal Palace should be able to stay up this season. Again, we'll have to see how the new manager does. It is possible that Vieira had a really good bond with the rest of the team, and this could be just demoralizing to see him go. but I'm thinking that they have a decent chance of staying up, probably the best chance out of any team really threatened by relegation, and I'm expecting Chris Richard to stay in the Premier League for another season. Then we have the other teams going through the guys who I think are most likely to stay up. First, we have Wolves, who they have been very inconsistent this season, but when you're already on, 27 points, and you probably only need to get like another 7 to stay up, being inconsistent isn't the worst thing in the world. I'm expecting them to come with some wins, and they're just an extremely talented team, and I think that they will be able to stay in the Premier League. Similarly with Everton, who were in a very bad spot for a while, I think Sean Dyche will be able to work his magic with them, and they just have such like an iconic team for the Premier League. It's like weird to say like this. I just can't see them getting relegated this season. Though that being said, it looks like Leicester, West Ham, and Everton. Out of those three, it seems likely that one of them will go down. So who's to say? But it's just hard to see Everton going down. I like their defense with Tarkowski's been playing very well. Pickford can keep them in some games, and I struggle to see Everton getting relegated with the team that they have assembled right now. Nottingham Forest isn't in the best spot. They have a couple of injuries, and I don't think they're that talented of a team to begin with. They have been scoring a little bit as of late, and I do like having Keylor Navas in goal for them, but I think with the talent disparity, it's going to be tougher for them to stay up. They're not in the greatest form right now, and these going to be a challenging road for Nottingham Forest. Then we have West Ham, who it's insane to be in a relegation battle while they're in a European competition that they have a realistic shot at winning. And they are in the relegation zone right now. They're in 18th, though they do have a game in hand on most of the teams, two on some others. But it's they're looking in bad shape. I keep telling myself like, man, they've got Declan Rice, Alex Paqueta, and Mikel Antonio. Just looking around the squad, there's so much talent that you can't imagine like West Ham would get relegated, especially with them being in Europe. But they are in a really bad spot right now, and they're going to need to get a good run of form going if they want to stay up. I think they're going to be sticking with Moyes at this point, so no new manager bounce, and it's going to be tough for them. But again, it's like I struggle to see West Ham going down right now. And then we have Leicester City, who, man, they still extremely talented team. I remember a couple years back I was looking at that midfield of Ndidi, Tielemans, and James Madison, going like, man, if they keep this group together, they should be competing for Champions Leagues in a couple of years. And they did keep that group together, and they're struggling. They're really close to getting relegated, and this is again a talented team. They still have some holdovers from that title-winning side. They still have Jamie Vardy, and Marty's still there, though Marty's not that great. Suter seems to have been a good signing for that defense, and it's the goalkeeper position is a bit of an issue for them. But man, it's just really weird to see that team just struggling this much. I think they're going to stick with Brendan Rodgers. I'm not sure if that's the right idea, but we'll have to see if they're able to stay up. It's going to be very tough for them as well. Then we have the two teams who I think are most likely to go down, Bournemouth and Southampton. Bournemouth, I just don't think they invested enough in their team. Scott Parker was right all along. And though they did get a nice redemption win over Liverpool, I just struggle to see them staying up. And Southampton, they, again, a team with a decent amount of talent, but man, appointing Nathan Jones has proved to be a terrible decision, and I was a bit surprised by that. I've really liked the work that Jones did with Luton, but yeah, Southampton are in a very bad spot right now, and it seems like they're not going to be able to turn around. They're likely to go down. And if I had to give a prediction of three teams to get relegated right now, it'd be Bournemouth, Southampton, and if I had to guess the last team, it'd probably be Nottingham Forest, if I had to guess. It's very tough to say this is a really tight relegation race. I wouldn't be surprised if Leicester, West Ham, even Leeds go down. I think any of those teams could possibly get relegated at this point, but that's just my opinion right now. Though I do have to say, I really like Steve Cooper as a manager, so maybe he'll be able to help Forest. But yeah, that's all I really have to talk about. I want to talk a bit about the relegation race, vent about Crystal Palace a little bit, because Patrick Vieira, I'm not sure about the decision to fire him. Hopefully, we can actually invest in the striker if we stay up, because that it would just be crucial for us. And yeah, that's all I've talked about. See you.